Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our 342nd weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. The way this works is this is an AMA, like you see on Reddit. Ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, personal growth questions, etc. And my humble goal is to help you take your career to the next level. Quick question. What album is this from? I think this is the best album ever made, or one of the best at least. Okay, and for those of you listening on Spotify, sorry, I was pointing at my shirt. All right, first question I've got here is, can you explain cyclical versus secular? Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, absolutely. So secular means when you're investing in stocks, there's secular growth sectors, meaning a sector that is much more relevant because of a trend like AI. So secular growth stocks include companies in AI like Palantir, as well as Nvidia, of course. You can also have companies in secular decline, meaning ones that are becoming much less relevant. For example, when Google was released and it came out of beta around 1999, 2000 or so, Yahoo started becoming less relevant because it was in secular decline. Now, when you invest in stocks, okay, especially tech stocks, the second a tech stock starts becoming a little bit less relevant, 99% of the time it's game over. Those are shorts or not good long-term investments. Now that we discussed secular, let's talk about cyclical. So economic cycles can be 5 to 10 years. And when the economy is doing well, you've got cyclical growth. And when the economy is not doing well, we're in cyclical decline. And so cyclical stocks are one that do extraordinarily well when the global economy, meaning GDP, which is revenue for the world, when revenue is growing for the world, GDP. And cyclical stocks are companies like Caterpillar, ticker CAT. You got Komatsu in Japan. You've also got oil and commodities companies. So when the economic cycle is expanding, those stocks do well and vice versa. I hope that makes sense. If you have additional questions, let me know, please. I recently learned that 99% of the business never make more than $1 million a year. Yeah, most companies never make it past 2 or 3 years. That's why you have to write a thorough business plan before you launch any company. I can help you with that as well. I have lots of templates, or use somebody else's. It doesn't matter to me. But when you start a business, it's the most important decision you'll ever make. And the reason it is because if you don't plan accordingly, it hurts your wealth, your health, your relationships, makes you live less longer too, so to speak. Always write a business plan first, because failing a plan is plan to fail. Now, a lot of people work full time and they run a side hustle. I encourage that too. And the reason I encourage that, I'm going to swear, I'm sorry, sort of, is there's nothing worse than spending the rest of your life being someone else's bitch. So write that business plan so you can be independently wealthy and not take crap from anybody. Now, let's say you start a side hustle and you want to think about quitting your full-time job. When do you quit? Well, you quit when your trailing 6 months revenue is greater than your annual salary. Always. Okay? And if you have more questions about this, let me know, please. Next question is, why are the private companies so overvalued? Yeah, I don't see it that way, actually. So what happens usually is private companies they usually trade it like an EBITDA multiple, okay? Which is kind of like operating profit. And because they're private, they usually trade at a bit of a discount, okay? A liquidity discount. Now, if you're thinking about overvaluation with respect to venture capital-backed companies, it's because they're growing very, very quickly, and it all depends on the sector. So I would say that AI-based private companies are certainly overvalued at this point in the economic cycle. Yeah. You were kind to suggest a book by a guy which aids in getting into Harvard or something that helps. Yeah. So I've helped a lot of my clients get into the top business schools. My success rate humbly is close to 100%, getting people into Harvard, Stanford, et cetera. You can always set up a call with me if you want to talk about that in more detail, or more importantly, just buy a book by Carpenter and Carpenter called Marketing Yourselves to the Top Business Schools. Next question is, what's this new quantum computing plus AI? Yeah, so quantum computing allows AI to work much, much faster, so you can build and optimize large language models quickly. What is quantum computing? Well, traditional computers, like the ones we have at home, okay, they run on zeros and ones. either 0 or 1, but not both. Quantum computing does 0 and 1, and that's called qubit. And there are a couple of companies that are pure plays in this sector. One of them is called D-Wave Quantum Computing. You can do research on that if you want to. There's not that many pure plays right now in quantum computing, as a lot of the large cap tech companies like Google, IBM, etc., make components or those types of computers. Yeah. And they can be very expensive, between $5 and $15 million if they're higher end, but it is the future of computing. And it's just a matter of time until we have quantum computing in these things as well, given Moore's law, which is somewhat relevant still. Next question is, why is Palantir overvalued, and why did you sell? Any particular reason? Yeah. So when I worked in venture capital, I invested in Facebook and Palantir pre-IPO. And whenever you work in VC and one of your companies goes public, it becomes a massive percent of your net worth. And so it's fiscally irresponsible not to sell. I did buy back both companies, and I currently own both. Please do your research, though. Okay. And what I like about both companies is the founder is still running both companies. I usually don't invest in companies where the founder is no longer running the show, because what happens is bureaucracy sets in, innovation dies, and they're short-term focused, which is a recipe for disaster. Also, if you meet Alex Karp, he hurts your hand when he shakes it. He's the CEO, founder of Palantir. Okay. And we partnered with Peter Thiel in Founders Fund when I invested in that one. Okay, next. Van Dyke, I think you're referring to Dick Van Dyke, is turning 100 next week. I don't know why I'm sharing this, just happy for him. My grandfather saw him, my mother saw him, and now me. Yeah, he was great. He was in a lot of great Disney movies, including Shitty Bang Bang. Yeah, sorry. Took me 8 minutes to talk about terrible dad humor. Moving on. All right, next question, personal question, sure. Chris, I heard CEOs read around 56 books in a year. I mean, I read as well, but my question is, reading fiction, is that okay or not? Because CEOs, most of the time, they talk about nonfiction. Yeah. So what you can do if you want to read books really quickly, and a lot of CEOs do this, is they subscribe to something called Blinkist. Do a search for Blinkist. It's an app and a website that summarizes books in like 10 or 15 minutes, allows you to work smarter and not harder. In terms of fiction, I think it's very important to read fiction as well, because when you're giving a presentation and when you're marketing your company, a lot of storytelling comes into that, which in essence is fiction. And so some of the best advertisements, commercials in history are David versus Goliath. You know, for example, Apple, back in 1984, when they released that $1 million Super Bowl commercial directed by Ridley Scott, you had a woman who was Apple taking on this big bad computer, which was IBM at the time. Storytelling works for advertising, marketing, and presentations. Okay, next question is from Sanjay. Sanjay wrote here, pardon me, Tim Cook, once he steps down, who's the next CEO? It might be John Turnus, who heads up iPhone, or it could be Craig Federighi, who is now heading up AI at Apple. The previous administration that headed up AI did a crap job because SIRI sucks with AI. So it could be Craig. And you've probably seen Craig present. He's the older dude with gray hair. He looks younger than me, though, that presents at a lot of Apple events. I think he's a better salesperson than Tim Cook, right? And you always want to look for somebody that can sell, that gets you excited about the product. Yeah. Tim Cook became CEO. It was the right call at the time because he was the COO for years, and he's brilliant, and nobody's better on the planet when it comes to vertical integration, operations, etc. Yeah. But he did mention he's going to be stepping down soon. Chris, you advise us to remove things from our life that doesn't help sales. How about reading or learning or watching something? Should we remove that as well? Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but in the past, I've said this. When you start a company, everything you do that is not focused on generating immediate revenue growth is a waste of time. If you nail sales, whoops, I'm such an idiot. Okay, hold on 1 second. It's fun doing these things live. I wish I had a 7-second delay. All right, but when you're running a company, Okay, you got to focus on top line growth. This is sales. So this here is an income statement. So when people say, what's your top line growth? They mean the top of the income statement. If you focus on growing sales or revenue and it grows, as long as these other red items here, expense items, grows slower than revenue, you're good to go. And so you got to have a sales focused culture. Now, in terms of scheduling each day, so you focus on the most important thing and don't waste time. For those of you in my premium products, go to the first personal growth lecture where I talk about a daily scheduling system. And this is crucial to have. You don't have to use mine. You can use any one you want. But what I recommend doing is every single day, before you go to bed, you're going to schedule tomorrow. And you're going to schedule everything you're going to do every hour, okay, if you can, within reason, including exercise, sleep, nutrition, meetings, goals, etc. And at the top here, you're going to write down your long-term goals with deadline dates in brackets. Then at the end of each day before you schedule the next day, you're going to score yourself, take off 10% for each violation, right? It's very subjective. And the score doesn't matter. I just want to see you're improving over time. And I learned this from two people, Tony Robbins and Elon Musk. Tony Robbins, and the reason I do what I do is because when I worked in venture capital, I introduced Tony Robbins to one of my portfolio companies, and he convinced me to do what I'm doing. So I launched this company 10 years ago, never been happier. But Tony Robbins told me, he's great, he's the real deal. Tony Robbins told me that 95% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the third week of January. Why? Because they don't set deadline dates. That's why you got to set deadline dates all the time. And Elon Musk said, if you set a deadline date of 3 years, you'll get it done in 3 years. But if you set a deadline date of 3 months, you'll get it done in 3 months. Write down your goals. And again, for those of you in startups or running your own company, everything you do that's not focused on immediate revenue growth is a waste of time. Yeah. Okay. What's your daily routine? Yeah, sure. Okay, so for me, nutrition is the most important thing. So every night before I go to bed, I have these two things ready. My coffee is made for me automatically the next morning. And in the fridge, every Sunday, I make 7 of these things. It's greatest hits of every antioxidant on the planet, including kale, pressed kale, etc., broccoli, which juices really, really well. My bulletproof coffee that I've been drinking now for more than 10 years, every single morning. What this is, and please do your research and talk to your doctor first before doing this. But what I'm about to tell you gives me insane cognitive ability so I can speak gooder and stuff. But the first meal I have every single day is a coffee. And it's made by a company in Vancouver called Bulletproof Coffee, which has no mold on it. Usually when you drink coffee, you get that high, which I love because it's the only drug I use, which is caffeine. You get that high and then you crash immediately. But with Bulletproof Coffee, there's no mold in the beans to the extent that you don't crash. Now, what's also in this coffee is one little ingredient that people have been using for hundreds of years to help them think better. Butter. I know it sounds weird, but what I do is I put in a tablespoon of organic butter, and it tastes like cream, right? And I also put in what's called MCT oil, which is like coconut oil. If you're going to do that, only put in a drop each day, double it, triple it until you get to a tablespoon. This helps me to think clearly. I also drink a ton of water every single day. I put just flavor crystals in it because otherwise water is boring. And if you drink lots of water throughout the day, I promise you, you'll have way more energy. Another thing I do is this, and I'm going to show you behind the scenes. And this is embarrassing because you're going to see how Sorry about that. I didn't turn the audio on here. The older I get, the better I was. I had a senior mistake. All right. So what I do is every single day, and this is embarrassing here, but my desk is messy. I get 10 to 20,000 steps every single day on my treadmill right here. I want you guys to do this. It's only a $100 investment. It's worth every penny, I promise you, to get this treadmill. And I move my desk up and down. And what I realize is that if I do this, I have incredible cognitive abilities to the extent that every hour I'm awake, I'm 10 times more productive. And I've talked about this before, but when I was younger, The first hour of each day when I got up early to study was incredibly, it was optimized to the extent that when I cram 10 hours at night, I get less work done than I did 1 hour in the morning. Now, if you walk all day like this, what happens is you give your brain incredible cognitive abilities. You trick yourself into thinking you just woke up. Therefore, you're 10 times more productive every single hour. Yeah, so that's how anyway, that's my daily routine. Yeah. What I also do is 3 times a week, I go to the sauna for 45 minutes. Okay. And this has really helped with my heart. My heart is now 8 years younger than I am. I brought it down 2 years in the past couple of months because of the sauna and obviously daily exercise as well. Please use the sauna, folks. What I also do is I do lymphatic draining. And what that means is this. It's this vibrating machine, and I do it 3 times a week. So it vibrates for like 15 minutes. I stand there in front of red light therapy as well. And there are centers you can go to for this as well. I go to one called BEAM, B-E-E-M, B-E-E-M. Do a search on it, it helps. All right. Next question I've got here is, what are some of the most common misconceptions you've seen from people asking questions on this Q&A? Yeah, over the past 7 or 8 years, a lot of people ask about short-term investing, day trading. It doesn't work. It's a recipe for disaster. It's just as moronic, and I say it with love in my heart. It's just as moronic as going to a casino. It doesn't work. Be a long-term investor always. Please, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. I want you to tell yourself this when you invest. I don't care about the path. I care about the destination. Okay? You'll sleep better at night as well. And when Warren Buffett buys a stock, he always tells himself, like when he bought Coke around 1990, that the market's going to be closed for 10 years and he can't sell it. Be long-term focused. Otherwise, what happens is, here's the path of a chart, Nvidia or some stock we've all owned over the years. It looks like this, pulls back a bit, you sell it, you freak out, and now it's up here. I know it's a simplistic thing to say. Now, if you do investment research on a stock and you see less than 15% upside per year, don't waste your time. Just buy ticker VOO. Do your research first. That's the S&P 500, which I think is going to be up at least 15% per year on average in the long run. There will be down years as well. Yeah. The longer the view, the wiser the intention. Are there any subjects you feel we're not asking enough questions about? Yeah, networking. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are more important than product knowledge. It's the most important thing in business. Nobody teaches it. Now, I'm going to give you a quick tip on how to get meetings with CEOs. That's right, of almost any company. Okay. Here's what you do. Step 1, do a search on annual shareholder meetings. Step 2, go to the shareholder meeting. Most people can just go to them. Step 3, during the shareholder meeting, you'll see not many people are there, right? There's some old people in the audience and bad coffee. It's true. After the shareholder meeting is done, you go up to the CEO. You introduce yourself. You exchange business cards. The CEO is not going to leave until everybody is left. Why? Because they want to set a good example for other C-level executives in the audience, as well as investors in the audience, and sometimes board members in the audience. So here's what you do. Let's say you want to get a job. You say something along the lines of, I love your company. I use your product all the time. I'd love to work at your company. Is there a name of a person I can reach out to in your company, please? And they might say, yeah, talk to Sally Peterson from HR. Next step, go to LinkedIn. Send an email to Sally Peterson from HR and say, I spoke with your CEO today. I met this person in person, and they said I could reach out to you. Please let me know if you have time for a Zoom call. Of course, they're going to take the meeting. Now, let's say you're selling something to that company, and you don't want a job at that company. You meet the CEO, and you say, I have a product or a service my company can help to increase revenue or cut expenses, whatever it is. Is there anybody in your company I can talk to about that? And they might say, sure, talk to John Stevens, who works in X department at my company. That night, send an email to John Stevens and say, I met with your CEO today. Your CEO said I could reach out to you. Please let me know if you have time for a quick coffee or a Zoom meeting. Thanks a lot, your future customer. Thanks a lot, Chris. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are more important than product knowledge. Now, I'm going to show you how to download a book of mine for free on how to network, get a job, customers, or anything you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to my website, which is harounmba.com. And then you're going to scroll down, okay, past all this propaganda. I mean, all that stuff. And then you're going to download this book right here. Again, go to harounmba.com. And while you're here, if you want, at the bottom, you can click book a meeting to talk with me or somebody on my team about my programs. Okay. Enough of the infomercial, Chris. Get to the questions. Okay, I will. All right. How does Warren Buffett explain everything so calmly? Yeah, and clearly. Yeah. So the genius of Warren Buffett is, of course, he's great at stocks. But you never watch an interview with Warren Buffett and afterwards tell yourself, I'm confused. If you have the ability to explain something in a simplistic way, you can make a fortune. That's part of what I teach as well. Now, Warren Buffett, who went to the same business school as I did, Columbia, it's the only thing we have in common. Actually, we have two things in common. The second thing is that when he was 19, he took the Dale Carnegie public speaking course. And I took that course when I was 19 as well. And he has that on his wall, his certificate of completion, but he doesn't have his Columbia degree on the wall. And that changed his life. The ability to connect with people and explain complicated stuff in an easy and fun way is something that will help you take your career to the next level. And that's one of the many reasons Warren Buffett is successful. You also have to have the ability to be somewhat controversial when you present, but tasteful. So for example, Mark Benioff, who was the youngest vice president in Oracle history at 26, he left to start Salesforce.com in 1999. He went public in 2004. I met him a number of times, great guy. But what he was very controversial by saying at the time that software is dead and cloud computing is the future. And his playbook is this, and I want you to do this as well. He was controversial, wrote articles about this stuff, and he networked to meet with 50 of the top tech and finance journalists around the world, and he was controversial on their TV shows or podcasts, whatever. Do the same thing, okay? Be controversial but tasteful. Let's talk about Elon Musk. Have you ever seen a Tesla commercial? Neither have I. His brilliance is that he's controversial, but you got to be tasteful, right? So what he does is he leverages the media a lot so that he doesn't have really that much in terms of sales and marketing experience or expenses. So if you remove that, your net income goes up massively. So how do you do it? How do you build the brand of you? Well, what I want you to do is I want you to take a page from Gary Vaynerchuk's playbook. Gary V is great at social media. And I want you to write one article every single week, and I help my clients do this. One article every single week on your LinkedIn profile. Then I want you to repurpose that one article per week after 1 or 2 years into your own book. I've helped lots of my clients write their own books as well. And I can give you this template for this book for free in a sec. I'm not going to ask for your email or nothing. Okay? You're going to put all those articles into a book. Now, you're going to sort the articles by the ones that got the most clicks, comments, etc. on LinkedIn. Then what you're going to do is you're going to give this away to potential customers, as well as when you go to informational meetings, etc. And if you think that's too much work, I say this with love in my heart. How badly do you want that job or that customer or to start your billion-dollar company? All right. And what I also do, by the way, is each one of these chapters became an Instagram video, a YouTube vlog, a course, etc. So how do you write a book that's 6 inches by 9 inches and self-publish for the price of nothing? I'll show you where to download it right now. So let's go together to my website. Go to harouneducation.com/write-book. Okay? All one word, write book. And all you're going to do is you're going to click right here and you're going to download this template. And if you know how to use Microsoft Word in a browser, you can do this too. So here's how it works. Page 1 is instructions on how to do it for free. This tells you how to publish on Kindle Direct Press, that's Kindle. CreateSpace is Amazon Print. And ACX is Audible. And if you want, you can use this person to make the cover art. This person is great, based in Bangladesh. I'm working with this person for years. Tip him well. And all you're going to do is you're going to fill this out here. Okay, so fill out all the chapters, yada, 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 and then right click here in Word and repaginate, and you're done. And then you'll be a rock star. This will help you a lot. I promise you. Yeah. Costs you nothing to do it. Yeah. Okay, next question is, to start in private wealth management, some certifications are required. CFA, any recommendations for textbooks? Yeah, you do not need a CFA to get a PWM job. Now, for those of you that want to work in finance, the best job you can possibly get is private wealth management. What does that mean? That means managing money like a stockbroker, but for very, very rich people. The economics work as follows. For every dollar that you manage per year, you get 1%. So let's say you raise $100 million, okay, and you manage $100 million for rich people. You get $1 million per year. Now, the reason this is the best job in all of finance, a couple things. Number one, it's the only job in finance where you can work in private wealth management at a firm like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, UBS, etc. And then take your clients with you and go to another big firm, or take your clients with you and, better yet, start your own firm. Now, 75% of all finance jobs at investment banks are sales related. And I think that's AI proofed. And the reason you're protected from that, from AI taking your job, is because sales, when it comes to money management, is not something we trust AI with at all. So I want you guys to work in sales always in whatever company you're in. That will protect your job from AI taking away your job. Also, it's sad to say, but in the next couple of decades, we're going to see the biggest generational transfer of wealth in history as the baby boomers move on. Wealth management is a booming business. Check it out. And if you want to learn how to get a job in that, you can always set up a call with me if you want, or my team. Okay. Now, if you want to do the CFA, it stands for Certified Financial Analyst Designation. What that means is you write one exam each year for 3 years. And CFA, which I think is better than MBA. CFA, the way it works is they tell you to buy like $1,000 worth of textbooks. Don't waste your money. Go to eBay, do a search for Schweizer books, pay $30 for them used. That's all you need to study. Yeah. You don't like companies with inventory. It depends. It depends if they have a good cash flow management. You don't like companies with inventory like Intuitive Surgical, which is like AI surgery stuff, robots. Axon, Symbotic, Rog Lab, Rivian, have, etc. They're very innovative. Any thoughts, any exclusions? Yeah. So let me explain first of all. So inventory can bankrupt your company. I don't want you to ever make a physical product unless you do what Michael Dell does. And what Michael Dell did was he created Dell computers, now called Dell Inc., from his dorm room in Texas back in the 80s. And what he did was he collected cash first. Okay, he took the orders, took the cash first. Then he built the product. Then Edward Deming kind of pioneered this as well. It's called just-in-time or JIT manufacturing. The reason that inventory can destroy your business, and I'm going to use a great example. This will be fun. I'm going to talk about the video game sector. So in my hand, I own a cartridge for a video game called E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Okay, and this is an Atari game from 1983. And Steven Spielberg blessed this game, right? And they released this game for Christmas. And they thought, oh my God, this is going to be unbelievable. You know, it's the hottest movie out there today. They made hundreds of thousands of these things. Nobody bought it because it sucked. And so what they did was all this excess inventory, they had to bury in the desert in New Mexico. I bought this on eBay. Collectors at it now. And that bankrupted the entire video game industry. In 82, 83, until Nintendo came along. I do a case study on this in my MBA degree program. Nintendo came along and reinvented the entire sector. Okay, so just be careful when it comes to inventory. Do you think Broadcom is not a good investment because it's not a pure play and not founder-led? Yeah. So Broadcom was a great short for me many years ago because their accounting was unethical. And at the time, I called it Fraudcom 15 or 20 years ago. I can't remember. I shorted the crap out of it, right? No longer founder-led, but that's okay. It's actually well run today because it's kind of an AI play. Now, what really excites people, and I do own the stock, again, I have for a while. Please do your research first, though. What excites me, or has excited me about Broadcom today, is the fact that they're Yeah, they're doing semiconductor stuff with AI, but they're expanding into software. And I love that. And the reason why I love investing in software companies is because they don't have hardware issues, meaning inventory issues. And also the expenses are much, much lower. Okay, so let me rebuild this really quickly, my income statement here. All right. So software companies, when you look at the cost of what they're selling, cost of goods sold, it's very, very low, right? You just download it from the internet, right? So my company has very high profit margins because I don't have inventory. People just download my courses or stream them. Whereas hardware companies, it costs a lot more. As a result, your operating profit margins at a software company can be 30 to 40%. At hardware companies, it's hard to get there. What is the best time and age to write a book? I would say that it doesn't matter, but I would say in your 20s is a great time to be innovative. And one of the reasons I say that is the Beatles wrote all of their incredible music when they were in their 20s, right? And they kind of peaked when they were 27, 28 years old. So it doesn't matter what age you are, but when you're younger, there's no thought police, right? You haven't been trained how to think, so to speak. Now, let me also talk about marketing when it comes to the Beatles. For those of you watching or listening on Spotify and podcasts, I'm holding Sgt. Pepper's as well as Abbey Road. So the Beatles were very controversial in their marketing, okay? Similar to what I mentioned earlier about Elon Musk and also Mark Benioff. So this album here is Sgt. Pepper's. And on the cover, it was very controversial. There's a lot of controversial figures here, including Aleister Crowley and others. Very controversial marketing. And what they also did was they pretended that Paul died. And it's tough to see here, but on Paul McCartney's shoulder, it says, people think it says OPD, officially pronounced dead. Let me see if I can show you. It's actually from Canada, Ontario Provincial Police, OPP, or Official Party Poopers, as I used to call them when I was younger. So they were very controversial with all that stuff as well. I can go into more detail on that if you want me to. The Beatles is always a great case study. And Beatles also were one of the first rock groups on the planet not to have the name or any letters on the cover. Now, let's talk about Paul McCartney being dead as well. Okay, it's fun to talk about this conspiracy theory rumor, which is not true. So as you can see here on the cover of Abbey Road, you've got all four Beatles. Paul is dead because he's holding a cigarette and he's in bare feet. Dead people don't need to wear shoes. And this here is the priest, John Lennon. Ringo is the pallbearer, the dude that carries the coffin. And then over here, George Harrison, God bless him, is the grave digger. And on this Beatles car, clever Beatle, the license plate, if you zoom in, says 28 if, which means if Paul McCartney was alive, he'd be 28. He was 28 when they made this, 27 when he made this. Would you invest in a Brazilian company or from Uruguay or Puerto Rico? I feel more comfortable doing Brazil and Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is a kind of a district region in the United States. It's not a state. However, Securities and Exchange Commission laws apply to companies in Puerto Rico. So that makes me feel more comfortable about investing there. Now, when it comes to Brazil, yes, I feel comfortable. And if you're not sure what to invest in a major market, buy an ETF like ticker EWZ, or EWZ as we say in Canada, which is the ETF for Brazil. Brazil is very natural resources rich, which means it's a play on China because as China grows, it buys more natural resources. So it buys Petrobras, which is not petroleum bras, it's petroleum company in Brazil, etc. And if you want more information on how to do research on any ETF, you can always go to etfdb.com. That's etfdatabase.com. And you can screen by geography or by sector. You click here on Brazil. You'll see there's 234 ETFs for Brazil. EWZ is one of them right here. And you can always see what the holdings are. Petrobras has got to be in here somewhere. Yeah, it's here a couple times. Okay. All right. My marketing person wants me to say, please like, subscribe, and all that stuff if you want. Okay. Next question is, what if a company is registered in the Cayman Islands? Would you consider investing in it if the headquarters are in Singapore or Brazil, let's say? I'm very comfortable investing in Singapore and Brazil as well. But you have to do due diligence on it. Okay, you have to do a lot of due diligence. Just because they're in the Cayman Islands might mean that there's some offshore banking tax mandate. I've set up companies before offshore, but I've usually used BVI, British Virgin Islands, because it's cheaper than Cayman Islands. Yeah, but you have to do the research. And the way you do research on companies is, and I don't want to talk about this too much, I've talked about it before, you use my 100-step investment framework here, and you get an executive summary, detail report, etc. All right, next question I've got here is, I'm so happy to say one of my newest courses on agentic AI and coding is now the highest rated on Udemy, thanks to you, boss. And this is Manas Roy. Congratulations, Manas Roy. It's funny, I'm actually making an agentic AI course right now with Ryan Ahmed. And that will be on my website probably in early 2026. What is the most important thing to look at when you invest in a semiconductor company? Well, it all starts with the management team, always. And you want the founder CEO still around the company if you can find it. So for example, NVIDIA, you got Jensen Huang, who's brilliant, and the only reason to invest in that company is because of him. That's what a company is. A company is a great management team. They don't teach you that in business school. Yeah. Now, also with semiconductors, you got to look at valuation, obviously the sector and et cetera. Now, a very good friend of mine, who I used to work at the most successful hedge fund on the planet. He's since launched his own hedge fund where he manages a couple $1 billion. And what Carl told me, fellow Canadian, when you invest in semiconductor companies and semiconductor capital equipment companies like ASML, and others, is you want to look at many factors, including EV to sales. Okay, EV to sales is kind of like price to revenue. And these are cyclical companies as well. And during economic downturns, you need to look at what the historical low point is in an economic cycle for EV to sales, enterprise value to sales, kind of like price to revenue. And that's when you find the floor. You don't want to value those things based on price to earnings during massive recessions, companies like AMAT, etc. If you have more questions, please let me know, and thank you. Okay. How are you so good at everything finance? No, I'm not, please. And tech and family and life and workout, knock on wood. You are the Marcus Aurelius of this generation. Have you ever done stoicism? If yes, why and why not? Thank you so much. No, please. I'm extremely flawed. Yeah, thank you. I love you though. So Marcus Aurelius, for those guys not familiar, he kind of created the philosophy of Stoicism. What that means is this. It's really important. Be unemotional. Understand there are certain things you can't control in life. And if you're very unemotional in business and in all aspects of life, you'll be successful, especially business, right? And so the best investors I've worked for, billionaires, lots of them, are really unemotional. So it's kind of like embedded in their DNA subfabric is a sense of stoicism. And if you look at the TV show Billions, and I'm working on season 3, episode 9 right now, it's going to be a 2-hour and 20-minute vlog coming out in a couple of days, working hard on it. But if you look at Billions, you've got this character, Taylor. And Taylor is very unemotional, and that's one of the reasons why they're very successful. You need to be unemotional in business to be successful. How do you become unemotional? Well, you need to tell yourself, I'm not going to celebrate success. And I'm not trying to be a downer here. Of course, I get happy when things go well for my clients. But if you get really happy when things go well, when you're investing or in your startup, then you're going to freak out when things don't go well. Keep your emotions in check. How do you do that? It takes practice. So what I did many years ago when I was running my hedge fund, it was back in 2008. We were within 24 hours of bank machines not working. I was massively short the market, thank God. What I would do is I would come home. And when I came home, because it was very stressful then, right? What I would do is when I came home, I hold the front door, okay, the doorknob, and I meditate for a while. And I tell myself, Chris, the second you open that door, all your emotions about work stay outside, because the home is a temple of love for my kids, right? It's all about the kids. And the reason I say that is because I remember when I was running my hedge fund years ago, I'd come home from work. Things were crazy. And my son, Matthew, what he would do is when I came home, he would always say to me, Dad, did you have a good day or a bad day at work? And if I said, I can't find the picture of him. If I said I had a good day, he would light up like Tweety Bird. And he would say, great, can we play baseball in the backyard? And if I said, well, it was only okay, he'd go, and he'd walk away. And that's not cool. Check your emotions at the door. And enjoy every day. God wants you to be happy today and every day. Okay. How do you structure your deep research when you analyze a company? How many credits do you use per company? Yeah. So when I use deep research, so the best way to invest, or I say do research, is you go to ChatGPT, right? And then you select here deep research, right? And I think I've got 200 or 300 credits per month. I pay premium for it. The problem is it takes about 20 minutes to run it, right? And what you can do is within the MBA program, and you have access to all this stuff as well, Manas. There's a bunch of courses I teach on AI, and I also teach how to use ChatGPT for investing in stocks. You can also use a lot of AI when investing with my forensic financial statement analysis using AI course, which you have access to as well. And then later on today at 10 a.m. During the weekly 3-hour Zoom call with me, just ask me more questions and I'll show you examples. Thanks. What do you do to understand if the founder CEO is good at sales? Do you watch interviews? Yeah. I want to see if they can get me excited about the company. Okay. I want them to get me excited about something boring like cloud computing. So Mark Benioff makes cloud computing you can't see, feel, or touch sound awesome. You want to look for a little bit of Mark Benioff, or you can look at Sir Richard Branson, watch his presentations. He makes you feel incredibly passionate about everything he sells, all of his companies as well. Now, whenever I look at a founder of a company what I want to invest in from a venture capital perspective, I always pretend when I'm meeting with them that I'm a customer and I want to get excited about the company that they're in, the sector in, etc. And that matters more to me than what they do and what they sell. Because I know when I'm early investing in a company, be it the A round, B round, or the seed stage, that their business model is going to change and the sector is going to change materially over the next decade. But I want to get excited about how they sell to me. Yeah. All right. What do you think of AI drug discovery with Nvidia partnership? How promising is this? Would you invest 0.5% or 5% in such a company? Yeah. So a lot of companies, what they're doing right now is they're starting to use AI for R&D. And if they use AI for R&D, they come up with new innovations faster, which means revenue grows faster. And if they use AI for R&D, they also pay less to brains on a stick, meaning really smart people that do R&D, because AI does it, and that drops right to the bottom line. So I'm very bullish on that. Now, in terms of what would I invest, 0.5% or 5%. So whenever I do investment research on a company, from a risk management perspective, I never put more than 5% of my money in my portfolio in a stock. And I don't care if that stock has a cure for cancer, right? I mean, I hope it does, because you got to diversify. And, you want to be around to invest another day or trade another day, as some people would say. So that means this: if I have 20 investments in individual stocks, no one is more than 5%. And what I also do from a risk management perspective is I don't have more than 20% in any one particular sector in my portfolio, like tech, retail stocks, healthcare, financials, commodities, etc. Yeah. And you want to make sure you invest only in very liquid stocks. Now, do I ever have 0.5% positions in stocks? Yeah, sometimes I do, especially biotech stocks, because biotech stocks, especially startups and mid-caps, right? They can go to zero or be a hero overnight. And that binary event occurs for them if they get FDA approval or next stage of clinical trials. And so I have a pray and spray mentality when it comes to a lot of biotechs. I'll make your smaller positions. Even you look at larger cap companies like Biogen, ticker BIIB. Ticker BIIB got cut in half back in 2005 because they did not get FDA approval for something. Always be careful with biotech stocks. It seems that companies that do not have inventory risk have cybersecurity risk. Cloud IoT companies have even both. Which is better? Yeah, I mean, anybody that has a website and sells stuff online is going to have cybersecurity risk. Whether you sell something online that's a physical product, like Nintendo shipping stuff or Atari we talked about years ago, or if it's, I don't know, a company that only exists online like Salesforce. So I'd say they all have the same cybersecurity risk. Now, if you want to see if there's a material cybersecurity risk for a company, you can always go to the 10K, meaning the annual report, do a search for risks, and you'll see everything is disclosed there by law. That's why there's so many lawyers in America. It can be a good thing for investors. Of the Mag 7, and the Mag 7 are Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft. Of the Mag 7, only Meta and Nvidia and Tesla are run by the founders, yet the ones who are not tend to outperform these ones in the long run. Why so? Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I agree with that. Okay. So let's talk about all of them. So when it comes to Google, Larry and Sergey are somewhat involved right now. Sundar's running the company, of course. But when it comes to Amazon and Microsoft, of course, Gates and Bezos are not running those companies. However, the brilliance of those two companies is that the founder of cloud computing at those companies are running the companies now. Andy Jassy, he's CEO of Amazon. He created AWS. Right? And then with Microsoft, Satya Nadella created their cloud computing division as well, Azure. Yeah. So those are sort of founder-ish led, kind of. Yeah. Okay. When we forecast and there is big stock-based compensation, SBC, isn't it better to forecast free cash flow instead of net income? Yeah, absolutely. So stock-based compensation. So when you work at a startup or a publicly traded company, when they give you shares, it's not a cash-based expense. It's not, because it doesn't cost them anything to make new shares. It dilutes earnings per share a little bit, but that's okay because the stock keeps going up. So the way to think of stock-based compensation is kind of like the way you think of depreciation. So depreciation is not a cash-based expense. So you deduct that when you calculate free cash flow. And when you calculate free cash flow, you're already deducting depreciation and stock-based compensation. Now, an easier way to forecast financial statements and to value companies, which I teach in a lot of detail, is to look at non-GAAP income statements. And non-GAAP gets rid of the crap that's not cash-based, like depreciation and stock-based compensation. And if you want, I can do a real-time case study on any company in the world. Tell me the name of the company, and I'll pull up the financials. If we forecast earnings per share, but because of stock-based compensation, 5 years is still negative, how do we value the company then? You never forecast SBC, stock-based compensation. You only forecast cash-based stuff. Yeah. And you got to look at non-GAAP. Yeah. I waste weeks of reading only to understand that the upside 11% because the stock is already expensive. Any optimization on this process? Yeah. So sometimes the best decision is to do nothing. So what I would do is when you're analyzing a company and doing investment research, you're going to forecast the financial statements. Then you're going to calculate what earnings per share are going to be in 5 years. You're going to value the company off your earnings per share estimate in 5 years based on the growth rate. And you're going to make it 1 times the growth rate. So if between year 4 and 5, earnings per share growth is 30%, then your target price in 5 years should be 30 times your earnings per share estimate in 5 years. Now, if you find that the annual return is only 15% each year, don't waste your time. Buy ticker VOO instead after you do your research. Because I believe, this is me, that the S&P 500 will be up an average of 15% per year for the next 20 years or so, especially with AI cutting expenses and helping revenue growth. Yes, there will be big down years. I don't give a damn, I say with love in my heart, what years are down years. I don't care about the path. I care about the destination. Be a long-term investor and watch your net worth take off. And there's no easy solutions. Day trading doesn't work. I'm not a get-rich-quick guy. I will help you longer term with investing. How long will this AI bubble fly? Yeah, we don't know. You know, I worked years ago for a guy named Art Sandberg. God bless him. He passed away from pancreatic cancer a couple of years ago. I worked for him at a firm called Pequot, which was one of the biggest hedge funds on the planet for years. And I remember at one point, I think it was the summer of 2006, we said we want to short home builders like ticker LEN, Lennar, and KBH. And the catalyst was, well, we don't know, but we're in a housing bubble. And he stopped us and he said, son, I want to stop you right there. I've been around long enough to learn never to stand in the way of insanity. You know, market peaks, market trough, you can't time it. And the markets can stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent. That's not my quote, that's somebody else's. Just be long-term focused. I don't know what's going to cause AI bubble to burst. It could be some geopolitical event between Venezuela and the United States. Probably not. It could be, I don't know, some earnings catastrophe. It could be some event you can't forecast, some black swan. Right? So we just don't know. Just be long-term investor always. Yeah. And I hope the market crashes so I can buy. Yeah. I'm a contrarian. And you got to be like Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, I'm proudly Canadian, although I live in the United States. Proudly American too. Except I use my Canadian passport when I travel. Just kidding, sort of, not really. I'm kidding. But I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. But when I look at Wayne Gretzky, who is the best athlete in history, Wayne Gretzky was successful not because he skates where the puck is, but because he skates where the puck is going to be. And using that logic, we need to invest in companies that people are going to like. If you buy a stock that everybody likes today, there's not that many incremental investors to push it higher. Just be long-term focused, please. Okay. How to understand what I don't know yet for investing. How to spot my gaps of knowledge. Any test somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. So what you can do is, if you're one of my customers, go to my 100-step research process, go through all these steps, and whatever you don't understand, click the link here in the 22nd row to watch a video on what it means. Yeah. Or what you can even do, if you don't want to buy my stuff, which is cool, you can just start listening to quarterly earnings calls. And everything you don't understand, just go to ChatGPT and type this so I can understand it. Explain to a 10th grader what this means. Be brief. Yeah. Yeah. And before we went live today, I scanned the questions and I didn't know what the hell SBC was. So I actually went to ChatGPT. That's stock-based compensation. Fully transparent. Okay. What is the minimum market cap you would consider investing in? I don't look at it that way. I look at minimum liquidity. Don't ever invest in a stock that's illiquid, because illiquid stocks own you in a down market, not vice versa. So what do I look for? So I look at the average daily trading volume, right? The average number of shares traded times the stock price. And I never, ever own more than 10% of the average daily trading volume so I can get out quickly if need be. Yeah. And a lot of hedge funds went belly up in the fall of 2008 because they owned a lot of illiquid stocks. And when they sold them, because the difference between the bid and the ask spread was wide, when they sold them, they actually dragged the stock down. Yeah. 3 of the Mag 7 are spending $100 billion this year and another $110 billion next year by raising debt for AI. How cool is that? Yeah, they're all investing in the future. Yeah. And that's the way you got to be. You got to invest longer term and come up with your EPS estimate in 5 years. I don't give a damn about the current quarter or next quarter or current year or next year. You got to be long-term focused always. And that's why, for the most part, founder-led companies are very long-term focused. Yeah. I don't ever remember Jeff Bezos getting on an earnings call. Yeah. Isn't it better when growth stocks are overpriced to switch 1/3 of the portfolio to value stocks or GARP, etc.? Yeah. Yeah, there's no time in the market. If you want the best returns, I really think you need to be a growth investor. Right now, a lot of people, younger people, when they're in school, they're more value investors because they're told buy cheap stuff on a PE basis. But that's ridiculous, in my humble opinion. I like to value stocks based on the earnings upside in 5 years. Now, every company that's publicly traded that seems expensive, they can become very, very profitable right now if they cut sales and marketing, and they cut R&D, it goes right to the bottom line. But that would be foolish because you want to invest in future growth. You have to be long-term focused. Yeah. Japan is raising interest rates and also offering free money to support the economy. How and why will the Japanese markets trigger another yen carry trade? Yeah. Let me talk about a couple things there. Yeah. So Japan was the market did incredibly well, and the Nikkei sort of peaked around 1990 or so. And then Japan cut interest rates basically zero for a decade. It was a lost decade, the 90s, and they couldn't grow, right? I can't name, aside from Mikitani-san, who I met before the Rakuten IPO, and I was at Gold when we did the IPO. I can't name a single successful Japanese entrepreneur in the past 20 years, aside from Mikitani-san, right? So I love Japan. I do a lot of case studies on Japanese companies. When I worked at Goldman, the first project I worked on was the IPO of NTT Docomo, $18.3 billion IPO back in 1998. But Japan is broken, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because Japan today has 130 million people. And in a couple decades, it's going to be 80 million people. Breaks my heart. So Japan has tried everything, cutting interest rates to zero. There's nothing they can do to grow the economy. Breaks my heart. Yeah. I hope they turn it around. And then you talked about the carry trade. Let me talk about that really quickly because a lot of hedge funds went belly up in, I think it was August of 2023, or maybe it was 24. No, it was 24. So what happened was, for many, many years, Japanese interest rates were close to zero. And so what a lot of hedge funds did was they borrowed yen and they invested in U.S. stocks. And then what happened was very unexpected. In August of 2024, the Minister of Finance, the MOF in Japan, which is kind of like the Bank of England for them, raised interest rates. And a lot of hedge funds blew up because of that. That's what you're referring to. In terms of me forecasting the next time they'll do that, I have no idea. Yeah. All right, Mark, how are you? Mark wrote, hope you had a good holiday, brother. Same to you. Thanks. How long does it usually take for custodians to clear cross-border capital transactions? Yeah. So for me, when I do bank wire payments, and I pay a lot of people overseas, it usually takes T+3, like three days usually. Yeah. If you're talking about other goods and FOB, freight on board, etc., you have to talk to a lawyer. I'm not sure. Thanks. And you have to, of course, account for tariffs as well. Yeah. What is the difference between private equity and private wealth management in the long run? What is tougher and why? Yeah. So private equity means you take a lot of money, a big fund, and what you do is you invest in broken companies, you fix them, then you sell them for more money. And private equity has the same fund structure as venture capital firms and hedge funds, meaning they charge 2 and 20. That means 2% management fee every year and 20% of the profits. Yeah. Private equities, it can take 10 years or so on the vintage to make money if you work at those firms. Private wealth management is different. It's raising money for rich people. You keep 1% of the assets you manage. I think that private wealth management is an easier business to be in and is a better business model in the next couple of decades as the biggest generational transfer of wealth is about to occur as the baby boomers, God bless them, move on. Yeah. Can a hedge fund only operate in cryptos and crypto stocks? If yes, why and how? Will it beat the markets? Yeah. So, yeah, there can be crypto-related hedge funds, and there are a bunch. But the problem with cryptos is that 99% of all cryptos are a scam. I own a lot of Bitcoin. I always have. I do think Bitcoin's going to $1 million at some point in my life. I don't care if it drops to 50K first before it goes to $1 million, but I promise you it's going there. I've done my research, do yours. The problem with cryptocurrencies, though, is there's no S1. Right? So there's no way of you doing investment research. So what I've done, and you have access to this, Manas, in your curriculum, I teach you how to do investment research on cryptos and sort of create an S1. It's not perfect. There's 49 steps to coming up with a target price for Bitcoin, et cetera, or whatever cryptos you're doing research on. I don't know if a certain fund is going to outperform others. Let me quickly explain why I'm very bullish on Bitcoin in the long run. And I'm going to explain I'll explain my $1 million target price. I'll quantify it too. Okay, so first of all, this is the worst investment you can ever make. Cash is trash. Why? Because it keeps increasing. And so right now, there's $96 trillion of M2, meaning cash like this from countries. 96 trillion. That's a lot. That's up $6 trillion since COVID. Now, currently, if you look at the $96 trillion in M2, meaning cash out there, fiat currency, about 3.5% of that amount is cryptos today. I think that we're going to see an increase in cash every year by an average of 5% over the next 20 years from global governments printing more. Okay. So what that means is if you look at the future value of $96 trillion, meaning you multiply it by 1 plus 5% to the power of 20, that's about $250 trillion in 20 years. Now, in 20 years, I think Bitcoin is going to be 10% of that. Okay. Now, the great thing about Bitcoin is there's about 20 million Bitcoin out there right now. And by the year 2140, that will only increase by 5% to a maximum number of Bitcoin of 21 million. That's nothing. So I think that in 20 years, if you take the $250 trillion in M2 cash out there, I think 10% of that is going to be Bitcoin. And so that gets me a target price on Bitcoin of about $25 trillion, which means a target price on Bitcoin of over $1 million per coin. I don't know the path, but I know the destination. Why? Why am I bullish on Bitcoin as well? Because Bitcoin is like digital gold, right? It kind of has first mover advantage. There's a limited supply as well. Now today only about 15% of all investments in Bitcoin are institutional, meaning big money managers, pension funds, endowments, sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, mutual funds. Only 15%. And that's up from 0% back in 2012-ish. I think institutional investment in Bitcoin is going to be way over 50% in 10 years. And that means the price will go up a lot. Now, one of the big catalysts for Bitcoin, a couple catalysts in the past year. Okay, you got a Trump administration, which is pro-Bitcoin. It is what it is. You've also got the SEC is kind of blessed cryptocurrency ETFs. So you can buy crypto ETFs now, right? Bitcoin ones. And that means I think that the SEC will regulate it eventually. And that's a good thing. It gives investors comfort. But more importantly, the fact that you can use ETFs to buy cryptos means you don't have to use this stuff anymore. This is a cold storage wallet. And for those of you that bought cryptocurrencies using the Ledger Nano or any cold storage wallet, it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass because when you set this thing up, you have to write down 12 to 24 little keywords. It's so confusing. At the last second, you're so confused. You're like, screw it. I'm cutting my order in half. You don't have to do that anymore. You can pay just 30 basis points in fees. That's 30 cents for every $100 you invest per year in Bitcoin and get out whenever you want. Now, this is similar to the gold ETF. Now, in 2004, the gold ETF was created, ticker GLD. I'm bullish on gold in the long run. And that was a big deal because before 2004, whenever I wanted to buy gold, I would have to buy gold bars. And I don't know if it was real. This is plastic. It's fake. And after 2004, I could buy gold. And I knew it was real and it was liquid. The same thing when it comes to ETFs with cryptos now. But no matter what, don't put more than 5% of your liquid net worth in cryptos because most of them are a scam. And the one thing gives me a little bit of pause when it comes to being really bullish on Bitcoin is, Jamie Dimon, smart guy. And I'll miss him, man, when he steps down from JP Morgan. But he's even said, let's be logical. How do we know there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever? How do we know this isn't a scam? 5% maximum positions, always. All right. What do you think of a portfolio having 30% gold, 25% commodity index, 20% treasury bonds, and 25% stock index? That's too much in gold. Yeah, I believe in position limits, no more than 5%. Yeah, in any asset class. Now, if you're going to invest in very liquid, stable ETFs like ticker VOO by Vanguard, which is anytime you see ticker V something, it's usually Vanguard. I think you can violate that 5% covenant and go a lot bigger. And for those of you overseas, please be careful with US dollar exposure as well. Okay. Through your help and God's grace, I became CEO of one of the top electric mobility companies in Uganda. God bless you. I went through the business plan model. What's the best way to get investors, meetings, etc. Yeah, God bless you. God bless you. Yeah. So if you went through the business model, you'll see for my clients, what you're going to do is after you make the business plan, you answer all these questions. Right here, you're going to click here on final presentation slides. You're going to print out the slides. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set up a ton of informational meetings with people that have something in common with you that can be investors. I'll only go after high net worth investors because the sales cycle is quite short. Step one, make a great LinkedIn profile. I can do it for you if you want with you. Just click this link here, go to this link you see here, set up a meeting with me. Step two, once you have an amazing LinkedIn profile, get tons of recommendations written for you, and I help with that as well. Step three, publish an article, 1 per week on your LinkedIn profile, so you're a thought leader and you have social proof. Step four, set up informational meetings with people, and I can write your sales script and help you close as well. I've humbly raised and managed over $1 billion in my career. I made a lot of mistakes too, but I'm here to help you. I can help you with your script. Set up a call with me if you want. Yeah, and God bless you and thank you for the kind words. Yeah. Okay. Bitcoin is down 1% year over year. Gold, NASDAQ, and S&P have outperformed it by far. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I don't really care. I don't care about the path. I care about the destination. Yeah. Okay. The future job in the AI world is sales-based. Are two replaced? Then in India, sales-based are being cut down by AI reps and large language models narrowly made. Yeah. So generally speaking, I think you're safe if you're in a sales role. If you're doing anything repetitive, watch out for AI and try to disrupt yourself so you can be way more efficient than your colleagues at work. Now, if you work at a company and you're up for promotion and you have clients and they want to promote you and say you're no longer going to have clients, but you're going to manage people, don't get seduced to do that. Only do it if you say, oh, I'd love to take on this manager role, but I'd like to have some clients too, because you're expendable. Yeah. Okay, give me a second here, guys. Okay, Naveed wrote, hey, Chris, I had a technical issue while getting your Black Friday Silver MBA course. The payment did not go through your portal successfully. Whom should I contact? Yeah. Okay. All right. So my Black Friday sale, and we only do it, we only put stuff on sale for 1 or 2 days a year. That's it. We actually did a Cyber Monday sale on my MBA product, my Silver MBA, which is usually $9.99. We sold for $4.99, 50% off. Anybody in this call that wants to get 50% off, email me today. And if you're watching the replay, email me as well. And I'll give you the email address to use as well. And I promise you I will honor it if you want to get 50% off. So I'll write it down here. Email support@harounventures.com and request 50% off Silver MBA. There you go. All right. All right. Next up. All right. Give me 1 second here. Pelassi wrote, is day trading like gambling? What do you think? Absolutely. It's worse than gambling. The worst thing that can happen is you invest and you day trade and you make money the first time. That's just as bad as going to a casino and, I don't know, playing blackjack once or using one of those one-armed bandits and winning money. Yeah. Day trade doesn't work because stocks go up and down in the near term for random events. Each month, the markets are open for 20 days. That's 20 weekdays. Random stuff makes stocks go up and down. You can read a book by Nicholas Taleb called Fooled by Randomness, and you'll learn more. Yeah, be long-term, please. And we can't name a single day trader that's been successful in the long run because they don't exist. And yeah, a lot of people hate me for saying that, but I don't care because I have a fiduciary duty with love in my heart to protect my clients, my students, etc. Don't do it. Don't get seduced into day trading. It'll all end badly, I promise you. Yes, Frank said you too, you're correct. But what album is this? Yeah. Okay. And give me 1 second, guys. I am having an issue with my mouse. So hold on 1 second. Okay, good. Here we go. Oh my God, I started using MCT oil and I put 2 tablespoons right on the start. Yeah, don't do that. If you're going to do MCT oil, which will help your cognitive abilities in the long run, start with 1 drop one day, 2 drops next day, etc. Talk to your healthcare provider and all that stuff too, first place. Yeah. Good to see you too, Shahar. What would you recommend as a side hustle job while studying electronic engineering? Thank you for your content. Yeah. It depends what you're doing. If you want, you can go to upwork.com and search for skills that you're familiar with and start pimping yourself, start putting your stuff online there if you want, or you go to fiverr.com and look for side hustles there. Yeah. Yeah. Or what you can do is create online courses, create online content as well. And what you want to do when you're creating this social media stuff, like I do humbly, is you want to help people. Give, give, give. Give and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. Now, here's a great book I'm going to summarize so you don't have to buy it, called Give and Take by Adam Grant. The richest 1% of people in the world. Okay? A lot of them are avaricious pricks, but a lot of them are good people, actually. The richest 1% of people in the world are givers. Over their lives, they've given, they've helped people, they've mentored people over time. And when you mentor somebody, when one teaches to learn, and you remind yourself of what your DNA subfabric blueprint is for success. Give, give, give. Help others. Call it karma synchronicity, call it what you will. If you help others, they will help you. But you got to do it with your heart. Okay. What would be your advice for a small youth operator, you put in quotes, youth operated vending business as a small side hustle? What would be the best way to use a side hustle as a way to leapfrog into real estate investing? Yeah, a lot of people have made a fortune by using Coca-Cola vending machines, etc. As with real estate, which is what you want to move into, the most important thing there, the 3 most important things with vending machines and real estate is location, location, location. Now, if you want to invest in real estate, I think real estate is a better investment than stocks in the long run. Because with real estate, you can deduct depreciation and interest expense from your rental properties. But if you want to invest in real estate, before you do it, I recommend taking my real estate course, okay, which is available to all my clients on my website. And what you're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is enter in the address of where you want to buy. This is one of the houses I own. Then what you're going to do is you're going to answer tons of questions about the property you want to buy, location, location, location. You're going to value using 5 valuation methodologies, create the mortgage, and I explain all this stuff from scratch, formulas, and then you'll get here a 1-page executive summary, as well as a 27-page business plan that you can print out before deciding to invest. Failing to plan is planned to fail. Okay. Why do brokers limit your orders? You can create, throwing an error message like with limit orders, price must be below X, or with market orders. Yeah. So I don't know what potential issue that is, but let me explain really quickly. So a limit order means you buy a stock, but at a certain price or below. So let's say a stock is $10.50 now. You can put in a limit order for $10, which means your order won't get filled unless the stock goes to 10 or below. A market order means you buy right at where the market is. I always set limit orders so you can get better pricing, especially with volatile stocks. Yeah. And if you're having issues, call your broker, please. Okay, I read everything. Yuil Oshana wrote, Chris isn't cool anymore. You college indoctrinated, useful idiot and spreading VC Keynesian crony crap. Take their money first. And Donald Trump is the king of bankruptcy. You also wrote here, Yuil Oshana, boycott all the college indoctrinated, useful idiots and them spreading Marxist liberal propaganda to destroy America. Yeah, okay. Thank you for the feedback. And just like my hero Jesus, I turn the other cheek. And I love you. Now, let me talk about criticism. And not with respect to what Yuil Oshana just wrote, but all of you. Let's say that you're criticized unfairly. I want you to tell yourself unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. Let me say that again. Unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. So when you get criticized at work or by people around you, I want you to tell yourself in your mind quietly, thank you. Okay, next question I've got here is Saylor. I think you're referring to Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy. Said he might be selling Bitcoin if it goes down way too much. How will it break their stock and also reputation for the company that holds cryptos or holding company? Yeah. So Michael Saylor runs a company called MicroStrategy, MSTR. I used to short it a lot when they had accounting issues about 20 years ago, and we called it MicroStrategy. What I respect about him is he says what's on his mind. I remember once I was on an earnings call with him circa 2005. He didn't like one of the questions I asked, so he said, I don't like that question, I'm ending this call. What I don't like, right, is, and I do respect him for his differences and different opinions, is that he turned a software company into kind of a Bitcoin holding company. I think if you want to invest in Bitcoin, you invest in Bitcoin. You want to invest in a software company, you invest in a software company. Yeah. Yeah. But deciding to sell something because it goes down doesn't really make sense to me. And so Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff and goes on sale. Warren Buffett has often said the S&P 500 would outperform most money managers over the long term. Are there any hedge funds that invest primarily in index funds? No, usually not. In fact, if you work at a reputable hedge fund, and whenever I used to buy ETFs, or actually I would short ETFs, when I needed to get short exposure, when I worked at very large hedge funds, in order to get my book back to market or beta neutral, I would short the SMH, the semiconductor index, is very volatile. And I would always get criticized by my boss saying, Chris, you're being paid to pick stocks. Look at the components of the SMH or whatever ETF it is. Do research on those stocks and pick those individually. Yeah. And when it comes to hedge funds, a lot of people don't realize is that really rich people, meaning accredited investors that invest in hedge funds, they don't care if they don't outperform the market. Because hedge fund, think of your backyard, there's a hedge around your house protecting your backyard. And that's euphemism for capital protection. So people invest in hedge funds. They want to preserve their capital. And so they always ask questions before they invest, like, how did you do in the fall of 2008? How did you do in Q1 of 2020? How did you do in August of 2007? How did you do in Q4 and Q3 of 2001, etc.? And how did you do during the yen currency unwind occurrence in August of 2024? They just want to see that you outperform when the markets get crushed. Yeah. Okay. Will you consider doing a psychology major in this day of AI, as therapists or psychologists, as they have not yet been disrupted by AI and remain quite resilient when people need more mental health help? I know a lot of people that use AI for that way. You know, if anybody watching this has issues, always just don't use AI. Go talk to your GP first and talk about getting a psychiatrist or psychologist if you want to. But I would say that if I had to forecast, are people going to be using AI more in 5 years for psychiatry and psychology? I would say more. Yeah. AMD is peanuts in comparison to Nvidia, but Nvidia owns a big chunk. Does this make both of them more valuable as if they merge in the future, even if they don't? That's great synergy. Yeah, they'd never be able to merge. Antitrust wouldn't allow it to happen. Yeah. So the Department of Justice, what they do is if two companies were to merge or one company buys another one and becomes too powerful, they don't allow it to take place because competition is a good thing for the consumer. Now, interestingly enough, many years ago, Intel, and I do a case study on Intel's Pentium chip flaw in the MBA program, which you're registered for. Many years ago, Intel wanted to buy Nvidia, and their antitrust lawyers told them at Intel Corporate, there's no way the government would allow that. Yeah. When it comes to AMD stock, I mean, all ships rise. Yeah. Or vice versa. How do you tell yourself to trust in God? Sometimes life hits you out of the box. It seems like forever. What was your rough patch in the last decade or so? Thank you. Yeah. So I go into the prison system in Redwood City, the McGuire Correctional Facility. I haven't gone in a while, but I do it through my church. And I'm not a priest. I'm a Eucharistic minister. I just help through the church. And whenever I talk to these poor kids, usually it's 20-something-year-old guys with a deadbeat father. Faith is the last thing they have to hold on to. And for a lot of us, it's the only thing that matters. And I always ask this question, and I know what your answer is going to be. Do you believe in God? You said yes. Does God believe in you? You said yes. Well, if you don't believe in yourself, you might have to question your faith. And we're never going to question our faith. What does that mean? Well, that means that God wants you to be happy every day. Don't be depressed by focusing on the past. Don't be anxious by focusing on the future. Work hard every day, but just know that God has a plan, and that'll keep you happy. And for those of you that have been let go or have had hard times at work, etc., you don't understand this now. But many years from now, you'll look back and be grateful to God you were guided down a different path. Yeah. And this is where the number of people watching drops. I don't care. I love you guys. What do you think about Micron leaving the consumer brand and fully focusing on AI? Yeah, meaning less so semiconductors, a little bit more AI-based higher-end products, perhaps memory chips, etc. for higher-end products, perhaps software as well. I think that would be a great thing for investors, depending on how they execute, commensurate with what Broadcom has done. Broadcom, which is also focused on semiconductors, and for the AI networking space, they've started to also focus on higher margin software products, which investors love. Yeah. What do you think of BYND, a stock that makes alternatives to meat? Too much debt, but the concept was good as Gen Z focuses on clean eating. Your thoughts? Yeah. So many years ago, when I worked in venture capital, I invested in a company called Modern Meadow, and they did the same thing. I don't own it anymore. I cashed out, but let's see here. Modern Meadow. And they print meat, and they also print leather. Yeah, they're still around. Good. Yeah, and the cool thing is that I guess they're focused more so on leather than the meat, but they could basically get DNA, technically, from sap. Okay, like you see in Jurassic Park, and grow Tyrannosaurus Rex leather. That's pretty cool. I do think that in the long run, buying leather is just going to be as politically incorrect, okay, by some people's standards, I'm not going to go there, as buying a fur coat. So leather and fur coats, bad in the long run. So do I think this sector, there's Andres Forex, he actually gave a great TED talk. He introduced me to the guys at TED. That's why I gave a speech there. I do think that in 5 years, this sector will be more relevant than it is today. Yeah, but you can check out this company as well. Andras and his dad started it. The reason we invested years ago, and again, I cashed out my venture investments, is because he and his dad had a great exit on a company called Organovo, where they print 3D organs. Okay, Ali Ahmed wrote, if day trading is not successful, why do people do it? For the same reason, why do people go to casinos? Yeah. Okay. Can you pull up the financials of Rocket Labs? I have no idea why and how this company exists. Somehow Kathy Wood got it cheap and made a killing. Yeah, although Kathy Wood is very good at doing social media stuff, she's underperformed the markets by a lot. Yeah, okay, I'll take a look. All right, let's do a real-time study together. And Manas, I think it's Manas, because you're in my premium program, in about a half hour we can go through this using Zoom as well. Okay, so I will show you. I won't have time to do full due diligence on it, but this will be fun. All right, so I'm going to go here to sec.gov. Okay, Rocket Labs. Let's see if I can get the ticker on Rocket Labs. I don't see it here. Let me go to finance.yahoo.com, see if I can get the ticker first. Rocket Labs. I don't know if it's publicly traded, dude. Is it? Give me the ticker for Rocket Labs and I'll take a look. But I don't see it here at all. Maybe it's got a different name. So give me the ticker and I'll take a look. Thanks. How do you maintain your principles while working in Wall Street? It can be tempting to do immoral things, but you remain perfect. Thank you. How and what's going in your heart and head back then? Yeah. I grew up with Judeo-Christian ethics and 10 Commandments and all that stuff. Thou shalt not lie and all that stuff. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. It takes you, and Warren Buffett said, it takes you 30 years to build a reputation, 30 seconds to ruin it. I've just been long-term focused. And when I worked at Goldman Sachs, on day one, they trained us to be long-term greedy. Yeah. All right. How do you know if a CEO is lying? Except for when they move their lips. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so when I worked at a couple of big hedge funds, and one hedge fund in particular I worked at, the billionaire CEO founder hired 25-year CIA and FBI veterans to teach us on how to tell if somebody is lying. And this came in particularly helpful when we were looking at shorting stocks. We would talk to a management team or watch them interviewed on TV, like Sanjay Kumar at Computer Associates ended up being a great short. So here's what you look for. And what I'm about to share with you, you can use in all aspects of your life. But I want to warn you, there's a caveat here, that this is more of it's not a perfect science. And if 2 or 3 of the 4 things I'm about to mention are true, when forecasting if somebody is lying, then maybe you assume they could be lying. Number 1, a liar breaks eye contact more than usual when they're lying. Okay, that's the first thing to look at. Okay, and you can find, you'll see athletes. A lot of times athletes will be interviewed on television and they're asked, are you going to return to the team next year? And they'll say, oh, absolutely, I remain committed to coming back. Yeah. Now, the caveat here with this one and all of them is you have to look at somebody's normal behavioral patterns. So for me, when I was younger, I had confidence problems because my teachers thought I had a learning disability and all that stuff. So sometimes I look down a bit more. Okay. So number 1, if somebody breaks eye contact, okay, they could be lying. Number 2, if somebody rambles on and on and on and on and on to a simple question, they could be lying. You see with kids. Did you take that cookie from the cookie jar? How could I take cookie from the cookie jar? I mean, I have to go get that ladder and put it over there. And it was so heavy for me to carry when I did it last night. Plus, I'd have crumbs on my face and all that stuff. Of course I didn't. Number 1, eye contact. Number 2, rambling. That's me buying time so I can think of number 3. Just kidding. Number 3, or threeth, as my son Andrew used to say. A liar often touches their face more than usual when they're lying. And number 4, shaking. As long as you haven't had too much caffeine. And my wife is Palestinian. Her mother growing up would say, Christine, if you're not good, I'll give you caffeine, which means 2 slaps to the face. As long as you haven't had too much caffeine, not caffeine. But you'll see it in like lie detector tests, right? And Meet the Parents, when Ben Stiller had that lie detector test, a test for that. But you can see somebody's foot if they're shaking a little bit as well. Yeah. I hope that was helpful. Okay. How do CEOs like Satya and Jensen and Sam sleep at night when they hold such a big chunk of humanity and global economic growth in their palms? Is it tense? Do you age fast in that top spot because you've been there? Yeah. I haven't been there. Yeah. I mean, successful people, they keep their emotions in check. Successful people are very well-rounded as well. If you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. So they prioritize exercise, sleep, etc. Jeff Bezos, 7 or 8 hours sleep every night, no matter what. Take care of this, and this works gooder. Yeah. Why did Jamie Dimon and Michael Saylor, once a Bitcoin critic, now been soft and cozy with Bitcoin? And how can you regulate Bitcoin when you don't know the founder or CEO or group or code or anything? Yeah. I can't speak intelligently about what both of them have said or will say on Bitcoin, but give me a second here. Okay. So before you invest in a stock, the SEC mandates that investment wankers and lawyers write this. This is an S1, okay? And it lists all the risks and a lot of information about a company. If and when Bitcoin is regulated or cryptos are regulated by the SEC, before a Bitcoin is created, this has to be created. That'll be a good thing because the risk will be disclosed. Yeah. All right. Do you think investing in freshwater companies in electronic grids will be helpful as AI beasts need so much of them to work well? Yeah. Anything that can help to limit electricity prices is a home run of an investment long run. Yeah. Okay. What is the worst AI can do? People like Sam Altman and Elon Musk, too, have talked about UBI in the long term. Will it work? And if so, yes. Yeah. Well, the worst thing that can happen is that AI develops a mind of its own and self-corrects, and there's no backdoor key for us to control it. And I think every country is going to have a department of AI ethics that will keep that in check. But there will be an event that occurs, kind of a scary one. Maybe AI will decide one day to shut down electricity grid infrastructure or water or something, which will put it in check. Hopefully it's not security related. I don't want to go there. Sorry. Dude, when I go to bed at night, I can't wait to wake up to have my coffee. I love coffee. Okay. All right, Sean, how are you? Sean wrote, hey, Professor, just realized if I can split a single Bitcoin into infinitely small pieces, how's that different than being able to add to the supply? I may need to ask you during office hours. No, it's a great question. So what you can do is a single Bitcoin can be cut up into a gazillion pieces. That's called a Satoshi, in honor of the founder or founders that may or may not have founded Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. That's it. Yeah. But it's kind of like a stock split. So when a stock splits, the market cap stays the same. Let me give you an example. Let's say that there's a stock and there's only one share outstanding and it's worth $10. Okay. So the market cap is the share price, 10 times shares 1, $10. If that stock splits, 2-for-1 split, it's now $5 a share, but the number of shares doubles from 1 to 2. Share price times shares, 5 times 2 is still 10. The market cap stays as is. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Matt. Matt wrote, hey, Chris, that's my son's name too, Matt. And Matt, or Matthew, is Hebrew actually for gift from God. So Matt wrote, do you think the current geopolitical landscape and the disgruntled Gen Z are currently priced into the markets? Yeah. It depends what region. I think in Bulgaria and other countries, you're starting to see Gen Z uprising as well. I don't think it's going to have a material impact. It's just people voicing their concerns, and I certainly believe in freedom of expression. Yeah. Okay. Good times, Frank. Thank you, Frank. He said, you too, the Joshua Tree, 1987. I was 15 then. Best album ever. I love it. Second and third best albums are maybe these ones here. Yeah. And actually, I learned from Bono. I never met him. But when his voice goes, he uses a product called Clear Voice. And opera singers use this too. So my voice goes, I just spray this. And you guys can get this too if you want before you give a speech. And I feel like I'm on the Truman Show now, which is so ahead of its time. Please watch Truman Show if you guys haven't seen it. It's a perverse prediction of what may become true when it comes to social media. And the soundtrack is great, especially the piano. Oh my God, the sonic architecture is gorgeous. Truman Sleeps. Yeah. Okay. Why is George Soros suddenly doing so well? He owns a ton of tech, now biggest Amazon he sold. Yeah. I don't know, but I've had very good friends and mentors of mine that worked for him. And apparently he sucks at stocks, but he's very good at fixed income and manipulating currencies. And I can always talk about how he broke the Bank of England and caused the Thailand to short to float the bot and made $1 billion in both days. Yeah. Not a fan of his politics. Chris, would you invest in a clean energy company? Most likely no, but I would do the research first. One of the reasons I would say no is, look, I've got solar on my roof. I've invested in lots of solar companies in the past and clean energy companies. Quite often they're very CapEx intensive and they only exist because of government subsidies. I want to invest in a company that can stand on its own 2 feet. Let me talk about World War II in Japan very quickly. So after the end of World War II, the Japanese economy was in shambles. And there's a guy named Michael Porter who came up with the Porter 5 Forces, taught at Harvard Business School, founded Monitor, was bought by Deloitte. He wrote a book in 2000 or 2001 called Can Japan Compete? Of course they can. And Michael Porter analyzed the Japanese economy after World War II. Of course the Japanese economy was in shambles after World War II. And he analyzed every sector of the economy. And every sector of the economy got money from the Japanese government to rebuild, except for 2 sectors. The 2 sectors that didn't get a penny were consumer electronics and autos. Now, Japanese consumer electronics and autos companies are incredibly successful globally, more successful than the other sectors in the Japanese economy. And so when it comes to government handouts, and when it comes to too much government subsidies, I don't think those companies can stand on their own 2 feet. Yeah. Now, if I were to invest in a clean tech company, it would have to be something where I know if all government subsidies were pulled, could they still exist on their own? And a lot of hedge funds got burned in the fall of 2008 in solar and clean tech companies. Heavy debt burden. Also, Spain almost went bankrupt in 2008. Youth unemployment rates reached 40%. Why does that matter with clean tech? Because Spain had massive subsidies for solar, and they pulled them, around circa late 2008. And a lot of solar companies went belly up. Yeah. But it's interesting, and this is controversial. But a lot of the stuff that we've been taught about global warming may or may not be true. Al Gore He made that movie An Inconvenient Truth. Not all of that was correct. Do the research on it. Yeah. Even Bill Gates has said that recently as well. Freedom of speech is a beautiful thing, right? Okay. But I am an environmentalist at heart. I am. All right, guys. So I'm going to have to wrap up this call very, very soon. And for those of you in my premium programs, I'll see you for our YouTube, or pardon me, our Zoom call at 10 a.m. today in about 20 minutes. If you guys want to work with me and have me mentor you, just go to the link you see at the bottom for those of you listening on Spotify, where I listen to Joe Rogan, who I love. You can always go to the link harounventures.com/meeting, okay, and set up a call with me. And what you get is you get 700 hours of my courses for life and all my future content. A lot of it you can't get anywhere else. You also get access to at least 1 hour every weekday for a year with me. Okay, so every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I do small group Zoom coaching meetings, like one-on-ones, but for, 5, 10 people. And you get access Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's 7 hours per week, at least an hour a day, 300 hours per year. And you get one-on-ones. And what you also get is access to an incredible community of like-minded people. And all my courses, members, leaderboards, events, we support each other. We ask questions for each other. We share wins. You can download the app as well if you buy first on iOS, as well as for Android, etc. And you'll love our network. People are really cool here, and I only let people in that are nice. Yeah. The culture is cool. All right, let me see if I can do a couple more questions here before I sum this up. Has Dell bowed down to the administration? A big donation. By the way, maybe Dell is a long. Yeah. So I think what you're referring to is Michael Dell, who I respect, and his wife just made a $6.5 billion donation. So everybody born in this country or up until the age of 10 will get a couple $100 or $1,000, and they can cash it in when they're about 20. I think it's a great thing. I respect Michael Dell. And I don't think he bowed down to any administration. I just think he's doing the right thing. Yeah. Okay. What Christian denomination do you follow? Yeah. So I am Catholic. And so my dad immigrated from Egypt in 1967. He's Coptic. He didn't want to fight a bullshit war. Came to Canada. And my mom is Catholic. She's half Lebanese, and the other half is Scottish, Irish stuff. And that's why my eyes are green, is because of that. And you'll notice that I use blue behind me. I don't use, it's just a sheet there, eh? I don't use green screen, otherwise you'd see right through me. And a lot of people with Irish descent, they have green eyes, and they have to wear contact lenses when they use green screen in movies and stuff. Okay. Your screen is a bit moving weirdly. Hope your streaming is okay. Oh, I see what you're talking about. On the bottom, it seems to be flashing. Yeah, let me remove that bottom propaganda message, and that might fix it. Yeah, it's a software issue. Okay, it's gone now. Thank you for that feedback. All right. What is the best way to start a career in investment management? So the best way to start is to invest yourself. And if you don't have money, create a paper portfolio. And if you're in the United States, just download a product called Thinkorswim, made by TD, which got, I think, acquired recently. Yeah, TD Ameritrade, I should say. And if you're not, and you can use a paper portfolio within Thinkorswim. And if you're not in the United States, you can always look at using a VPN. Yeah. All right. And thank you for those wonderful comments there, Amanas. I appreciate it. Good Times wrote, I was 8 in 87. All right, so you and I were born in the same decade then. Excellent. Yeah. Remember those days, man? We rode big wheels without helmets. Yeah. Curfews when it got dark outdoors. We weren't glued to these things. I think we were happier, I think. I don't know. I'm pretty happy. I use this a lot. Yeah. Okay. And then Amen Jilly wrote, Jesse, love your video. In a hedge fund portfolio, how would you generate investment ideas? How much do you allocate to each position? And when do you decide to get out? That's how we say it in Canada. It's not out, Americans. It's out. Okay. All right. So in terms of generating ideas, I think I've shared my template with all of you before. The 100 steps I look at, I always start with the management team. But when you first start doing investment research on a company, take a step back, okay? And what I want you to do is this. When you look at a stock or a sector, start with this. In 5 years, will this company and the sector it's in be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? That's important because that will stop you from getting seduced into buying value traps, meaning stocks that are cheap for a reason. Then once you decide the sector, meaning top down, then you do bottoms up. I'm not saying up your bottom, bottoms up. Sorry. And that means you're going to look at the 100 steps investment research framework. Okay. I won't go into detail on it, but if you want, you can screenshot it here. This is what I give to my clients. You start with the management team, all that stuff. Then you come up with the target price. What you also need to do is forensic financial statement analysis using AI, which is what I do, which creates reports on companies as well using AI. Now, in terms of would I invest in the company if I see material upside, meaning a 5x5, which means a 500% return within 5 years. Am I often wrong? I'm wrong most of the time. But if I'm right, it's only up 300% or 700%, I'm happy with that. Now, in terms of position sizing, as I mentioned earlier, I never make a position more than 5%. I don't care how good the company is. It's just good risk management. And the only reason I would sell is if it reached my target price. And sometimes I have a stop loss level as well. Yeah. Can you explain hedging in a portfolio? Yeah, absolutely. So hedging means de-risking or decreasing the amount of risk you have in a portfolio. So, I don't know, I'll make this up. Let's say you're really, really bullish on Nvidia and you think Nvidia is good, but AMD is bad. So you can go long, meaning own, like in football, you go long, American football. You own Nvidia, and you offset that long position with AMD by shorting it. And obviously the hopes are that, ideally Nvidia goes up, AMD goes down. Or if both go up, Nvidia goes up more. Or if both go down, AMD goes down more. Yeah. And a lot of hedge funds, generally speaking, most hedge funds run net long, meaning 40% net long. But a lot of hedge funds also run what's called market neutral, which means they're plus or minus 10 or 15%. And I can talk about beta neutral as well. Okay. Yeah. And this will be the last question I take here. And then for those of you, my paid programs, I'll see you at 10 a.m. Pacific time today for our Zoom call, 3-hour and 20-minute Thursday Zoom call. Yeah. Question. What is the difference between the Silver MBA program and the lower tiered program that's offered at just under $300 per month? Yeah. So the Silver MBA program is, I think it's like 400 or 500 hours. You get access to it. You don't get access to me. I think there's like 1 hour per week you have access to me, and that's it. Yeah. Whereas my other programs that start at $300 per month and go up from there, you get access to 700 hours of my content for life. You get access to a community of like-minded people as well. And I showed you the community a couple minutes ago. Okay, it's an app you can download and stuff. You also, in my higher tier stuff, get one-on-one meetings with me, where I make your entire LinkedIn profile myself. I find out what your weaknesses are and I help you. I help you to sell, help you to start a company, help you to raise money, whatever you need help with is consulting with me. And you also get access to 300 hours per year of daily group Zoom meetings. Okay. So it's every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, at least an hour a day. That's 7 hours per week, 300 hours per year. If you're interested, you can go to, let me put the link at the bottom of the screen here. Hold on a second, guys. All right, so you can go to this link here. So you go to harounventures.com/meeting, and you can set up a meeting with me. Yeah. All right, so if we go to harounventures.com/meeting, all lowercase, you click here just to set up a meeting. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Shahar and Raphael. Oh my God, Raphael, how are you? Rafi from cohort 1. Great to see you. Hope also. I miss you, brother. I miss you. I hope your health tech startup is going well. I think your brother, your family's in Brooklyn, but you're in Florida. You travel the world a lot. Your dad has done wonderful things for charities, etc. Great to see you, man. And I hope you're doing well. Okay. And Shahar wrote, how do former gold students join weekly calls? Yeah. So tell you what, send me an email right now, and I'll take a look at it. So email support@harounventures.com, and I'll give you the link. And I'm putting my watch on backwards on purpose because in a couple of minutes, I'm going to look at my watch like, what time is it? Oh, that's right. I have to remember to send that email. Yeah. Only works when you have one thing to remember, though. Okay. All right. And then next comment is you've lost some weight. I have. I've lost 10 pounds since Ella Yani. That's what Arab descent people say instead of Ella Yani. Since June 29th. Yeah. So I'm trying to get more cut as well. I'm trying to my heart. I got my heart down to 8 years younger than I am right now. You know what, man? Fuck it. I'm going to share with you guys exactly how I do all this stuff and all the apps I monitor. Yeah. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you the apps I use and all the products I use to help me health-wise. And I'm a nerd. I'm going to show you the Oura Ring. I'm also going to show you my sleeping thing and exactly how I measure every little slice of body fat on me and muscle or lack thereof. And then I'm going to show you how you can do it as well. And the scale I recommend buying. All right, so let me go here. And I am going to share my screen, and I'll show you everything if you guys care. All right, so share screen. Start broadcast. Okay. And I'll join it on this side here, and I'll show you just my tips and tricks or lack thereof. So let me go to Zoom here. And let me join. Sign into start. That's how they say start in South Boston. Okay. Sign in. And I will show you. I will reclaim host. I will let Carolyn in soon. Okay, let's do this. This will be fun. Make sure the audio is working. Check. Okay, good. Let's do this. All right. So let me show you now. So here's how I do it. All right. Get rid of Chris there. Great. Okay. So I use something called Fit Profile, and it's a scale. And this scale allows me to monitor all my weight. So I've lost 11.6 pounds since June 29th. Yeah, and it monitors everything. I think it's having issues. Yeah, so I'm now 165.6. Yeah, it's having issues showing everything here, but I'll show you what I've done. So body fat is what I track. So I got it down from 20%, Alexa stop, down to about 17 or 18-ish. I want to get down to 9.9 because that's when you're cut. So you can see my six-pack instead of my Molson muscle. But what it also does is it actually shows you every body part as well. It's having issues showing that right now. But let me show you where to buy the scale. Okay, and I highly recommend this. So I'm going to go to Amazon here. And I'll do a search for scale. And the app comes with a scale as well. And it measures every body part in terms of fat and all that stuff. So let's go here to scale, search, see if it comes up. Here it is here. Yeah. This is the one I recommend getting, okay? It's the GE scale. Just do a search, GE Smart Scale, okay? You can always pause this screen. And what happens is you hold that thing at the top there. It's attached to a cable, and it measures. There's 8 sensors, 2 on the back of that handle as well. It measures all your body parts, and it tells you what the percent of fat is for every single part of your body, and tons of other data points. I recommend everybody buy this. It's great, and there's gamification too. It's fun, right? Yeah. So anyway. And then what I also do is I use an Oura ring, okay? And with the Oura ring, it goes on my hand here. I'm a nerd. How are you? It measures my sleep, my readiness, everything. And this has helped with weight loss too. So what I do is I measure my deep sleep, my timing, all that stuff. And it measures also, let me see here. It also tells me my age, the age of my heart. So my heart is 8 years younger than me. I got it down a bit it was like 6.5 years back in October. I got it down to 8 years younger than me now, which has helped a lot. And another thing I do, and I'm such a nerd here, is I've got this product called 8 Sleep. And it actually changes my bed. It changes the level in the middle of the night to stop me from snoring, and it changes the temperature as well. And this has helped me a lot actually as well. If you had a good night's sleep and you exercise and all that crap, then you can, I don't know, you kind of live longer, right? And then here at bottom left, I do weight training as well, and this will track everything for me, which is pretty good, all that fun stuff. But if you can track it, I don't know, sometimes you take it more seriously, right? So let me stop broadcasting here. Okay, and I see a couple people have entered Zoom here. In a couple of minutes, we'll start our weekly call. So let me actually go here and shut down this here, and I will prepare leave meeting. Okay, good. All right. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to wrap up this week's call. So God bless you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's call. Thank you for all the questions. Somebody wrote, are you using apple cider vinegar? I do. On my salads every single night for many years. Very healthy. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to end this call, like I always do, with a very short interview with Steve Jobs, the license from the Silicon Valley Historical Association here in the Bay Area. I actually met the guy a couple times that made this documentary. Alexa, stop. But take care, guys. God bless you, and I'll see you next week. And for all those of my premium products, I'll see you in about a minute. Thanks.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.